But thank you guys so much for being here. We really appreciate your time and your involvement in the Dive for Ag project. It's been an absolute blast to work on and such an honor to get to interact with both the students, the content leads, the folks over at Time Looper, our friends at Oregon State, just everybody that's been involved. It's been super fun to work on this project, and especially to finally see these end pieces come together. So Wendy served as the expert for this area, and I got to do a little bit of work after her with organizing some of the filming and meetups. So that's why you'll see content lead attached to my title, but I also work as a program assistant for the full program. So helping out with the Teens as Teachers program, the Ag Science Cafes, some social media and some things like that. But let's hop into the exciting stuff, which is our Farm and Stable Horse virtual reality app. So to start off, I always love to do expectations. I served as a state FFA officer before I came to college, took a little gap year there, and this was something that I learned in that role. So everybody go ahead and put your hand up. Even if your camera's off, I know you'll look silly doing it, but we're gonna do it anyways. We got 5 fingers, we got 6 expectations. Number 1, we'll start with our thumb. We're gonna be positive throughout our whole session today. 2, we point with our pointer finger. We're gonna be specific in the questions that we ask. 3, we don't really wanna use that finger, but it'll remind us to be respectful. 4, that's where your ring finger is. We will commit to learning and come out with something new. 5, pinky, that's your pinky promise finger. Hold yourself accountable to the learning that you're about to have in this session. Now you say both your hands and you put them together. And that's going to be our reminder to give grace throughout this whole session, because we're working with some super awesome, super new technology that we may not be familiar with. So we just want to give ourselves and each other grace as we kind of navigate through this new digital space. I always love to throw in a good picture of a fat polar bear just as an icebreaker. Everybody needs a good laugh at the beginning of a presentation, including myself. So here's 3 pictures of fat polar bears just to break our ice. Something else I learned as a state FFA officer to really help us get dialed in and ready to learn during this session, we call it snapping in. So we'll all take our hands and put them up, ready to snap. And on the count of 3, we'll go zoop and snap in and just down. All right, so 1, 2, 3, zoop. All right, now we're all snapped in and like dialed in and ready to learn. And I'm so excited. So to start off with, I just want to give you a little bit about my background and my credibility as a horse girl. So I talked about serving as a state FFA officer. That's what you'll see on the bottom left. That's me and my team. We were a group of recently graduated high school students elected by our peers to serve our organization. Spent a little over 3,000 hours in the classroom and went to all sorts of different places around the state of Oregon, went to 58 different high schools, bounced around the nation a little bit, and then popped overseas to Spain and Portugal. Currently, I'm studying at Eastern Oregon University in the Oregon State Ag and Natural Resources program, where I serve as an ambassador. And then I get to talk about my horses, which is always fun. Below that, you'll see a picture of my pride and joy. The white mare is Sage, and then right beside her in that picture is Poncho. He's my rope horse. Above that, you'll see a picture of me on Sage with my mom. My mom's an extension agent, and she's how I originally kind of got my feet wet in the world of extension, and she encouraged me to apply and work on this project. The next 2 pictures, I'm a ranch girl through and through. My favorite time of the year is branding season. So most of the weekends in the spring, I love to be horseback, roping cattle, branding cattle. I love running the iron when we do our own cattle. And then in the bottom right-hand corner, I'm also a new aunt. So that's my niece Parker, and I love her. So I just got to show her off every chance that I get. So just a little bit about our session today. We've got 4 different parts. We'll start with talking about what is virtual reality and what is augmented reality. Then we'll move into why we chose to do an app all about horses, talk a little bit about the value of the equine industry to agriculture, And then Eat will come in and do a preview of our virtual reality app for us. So the first thing I want to start with, just so we're all on the same base as far as knowledge, virtual reality is a simulated experience that's semi-similar to real life, whereas augmented reality is an interactive experience in a real-world environment where the objects are in the real world and are enhanced by computer-generated programs. And they also include different sensory modalities. These can be visual, they can be audio, they can be haptic, they can be somatosensory, they can be olfactory. We don't have a couple of those last two, but we do have some of those haptics going on in our app. So that's just a brief overview of kind of some of the differences between when we talk about augmented reality versus virtual reality. So in the chat, if y'all are brave, would we type in some things that we know about horses? We'll take 1 minute to do this, and it can just be anything. It can be that they're big, that they're expensive, but let's just go ahead and take 1 minute and we'll pop those into the chat. What questions are there? Awesome. Let's take the next minute to start typing those in the chat. All right, we'll take about 10 more seconds just to throw our last few thoughts in there. Sweet. All right. So some of the things that we threw into the chat are that they're smart, they can be ridden or driven for transportation, and there aren't many or any wild horses left. These are all awesome pieces about the horse industry, and I'm excited to develop on these ideas and kind of sift through those as we work through our session. Oh, horses are big animals, but can be fearful and spooky. Too true. I just got thrown 2 weeks ago. So I hear you on that one. Okay. So when we talk about a horse app and why we chose to focus on this area of agriculture, there were 3 really large relevant points that came up. First of all, equine activities have a lot of positive effects on our physical and our mental health. Not just the act of riding the horse or driving the horse, but also those pieces about caring for the animal, spending time brushing, doing the farrier work on their feet, working the arena, all those pieces that are encompassed within owning a horse or being around horses have those positive effects on both our mental and our physical health. Next, horses have been a really vital part of our human history. They've been around for about 5,000 years and have helped us to make some really significant changes and developments throughout our human history. And then the third one is that our home, the US, is home to the most horses in the entire world with 7.2 million horses. And you'll see on the little bar graph a little breakdown of that. The most of them are in the recreational sphere, a few less in showing, about an equal amount there in racing, and a little bit smaller amount that are used for working. I would also challenge you all to think about what kind of equine terminology do we use in our everyday speech. Think about things like hold your horses, whoa, or let's rein that in. Those might just be a couple that pop into our minds, thinking about the influence that the equine industry has had on our history as humans. I also think it's important to talk about the value of the equine industry and as far as a dollar amount. So the total economic value of our horse industry is 122 billion. Now that's a pretty good sized chunk of change. The horse industry directly contributes about $50 billion to the US economy, and about 31% of our households have a horse enthusiast in them. And of those 31% of households, about 38% of those horse enthusiasts are under the age of 18. Meanwhile, only 1.3% of our households have a horse owner in them. And there's about 80 million acres of land that are reserved just for horse-related activities. So we can see that there's a pretty big gap there between the number of horse enthusiasts or people interested in horses that we have and those that actually are owners of them. So these apps are going to be an incredible way, Rogue AirPod, are going to be a great way for us to connect those horse enthusiasts to the closest thing to a real life experience. So we're so excited, again, just to be able to share that connection and that experience with those students. So when we get to thinking about the app, we'll talk a little bit about what's featured within it. When we went through the creation of the production sheet for this app, and we were thinking about, what are the main big pieces of uses of horses that we can really highlight within the app to show youth in our schools or in our 4-H programs a whole big breadth and depth of horses in the most effective way possible. So we chose to communicate this through 3 different categories. The first of which is our horses at work. In this section of the app, we'll see horses working cattle, we'll see cowboy roping cattle, and also see a little bit of driving. Pictured below that little tab is a good friend of mine and mentor, Mr. Dave Yost, who had us out to film at his house. Esteemed team roper, ropes at a national competitive level. He's retired now, so that's mostly just what he does in his free time. The second section was horses for sport. Within this area, we got to go see a professional reiner and also had a 4-H student ride dressage for us. So a really interesting spread of knowledge and experience throughout the years. Below that is a picture of Travis Wiggin. He's a professional reining horse trainer located up in Joseph. The horse he's on is Ernie, and he's a $1 million earner. So it was really cool to be able to watch that horse work. And students will have the opportunity during a piece of the app when they have the goggles on where they're sitting on Ernie as he does those big flashy spins and sliding stops. And I'm just really excited for students to be able to see that. And then the last kind of content bucket that we had was horses and recreation. This mainly focuses on trail riding and just interactions that we have with the horses that aren't for work or for sports. And of course, I felt like it was fun to throw in a good picture of me and one of my friends out on our last cattle drive. With that, I'm going to turn it over to E, and he's going to take us into the wonderful world of horses.
So that I'm going to share my screen, and I'll be waiting your guidance to activate which beam. But before that, let me orient Susan and Anne. So what we are looking at is my phone screen. This is a mobile app, but also there is a headset version of this where the headsets will be shipped to you, and then all the students can see the same experience on the headset. When you are in the headset, you'll be looking at the content in virtual reality format, which is you are disconnected from your physical environment. In the mobile app version, it's augmented reality. You can display this tabletop wherever you want in your classroom or at home. So in this app has all different kind of cultural content, and close this. And there's going to be a section, it's not live yet, dedicated to this program where you can have access to all the content. For now, they are in draft mode. So now I'm going to the draft mode, which I have access, but you don't have. And now, then I'm going to select the horse and farm stable. When I select it,
Hello,
you will have
everyone,
more
and
information.
welcome to you. Hello, everyone, and
It's
welcome to
wrong
Yosemite.
video, but
During
when I click View in AR, it asks me to scan my table using my computer. When I tap, it's now loading. A little bit. So now we are looking at the augmented reality 3D model. This is not real. This is a digital content. So you see the computer is here, and then my hands. But actually, if I turn my computer and look down, you see it's not there. I can only see it through the screen of my phone, which I am sharing my screen. And then all these pins have educational content. Now, one by one, or the selected ones, we're going to show them. And one more thing, you can rotate this by tapping on your screen. You can make them really big and get really close, or just keep it small. All right, back to you, Debbie.
Yeah. Okay. Give me just a second. I had a list pulled up of how we were going to get the most out of our time to be able to see all the different elements. So a few of the different elements that are kind of featured within the app, and feel free to jump in here too. We've got a slideshow, a 360 photograph, a 360 video. There's a hologram and a 3D model, and then 180 videos as well that are featured within here. So to start with the slideshow, that one's on a change in pace pin, if you want to go into that one.
A change of pace, this one?
Yes, sir.
It's a hologram.
Between people and horses is one of the most unique relationships.
Well, never mind. This
Just
one's a
as a
hologram
horse
then.
changes careers through its lifetime, people often change how they ride horses too. When you begin riding, lots of your lessons are simply walking and learning how to balance in the saddle and communicate with the horse. As your skills build, you can learn to move a bit faster, trotting or cantering. Lots of people get into eventing once they fully know how to ride. Things like jumping, vaulting, or barrel racing all take balance and fitness for both the horse and the rider. They're extremely fun, but can be physically demanding. When people need to slow down their pace, they often transition to trail riding or relaxed social rides with friends.
Cool. Never mind. That was a hologram one. So what a way to start. That's a cool one. If you just want to flip through them, or maybe if you have favorites or there's one you want to click on, go for it.
I love the 3D horse.
Yes, I love the 3D horse.
Which one would you like me to activate?
Well, I don't know. Surprise me.
What's for breakfast?
Yes.
For $50, please.
Horses are grazing animals. This means that most of their diet comes from high-quality forages like hay and grasses, while in the barn, fresh hay is brought into their stall to eat. Just like you may eat different flavors of cereal in the morning, horses eat different types of hay, like Timothy grass or alfalfa. It is important that horses eat adequate food to fuel their bodies. Keeping careful notes of each horse's dietary needs helps keep track of when and what horses are fed. Bodie here gets 2 flakes of grassy hay and 1 flake of alfalfa in the morning and afternoon, with an extra portion of grain added to his afternoon meal. Horses that participate in athletic events need extra food to keep up with their energy needs. This extra food is often grain or special pelleted food. Horses that live in areas with lots of green grass can spend a lot of time grazing in the pasture as well. These two mares are out enjoying a bit of lunch. Sometimes horses get special treats like peppermints, apples, and carrots too. Everyone likes a treat now and then.
Another one, or should I go back and then look at another pin?
How about sharing a birthday for 20, please?
Oh, this is a 360-degree picture.
Mm.
And then when we look around, we find more pins, get more information.
A horse is a horse, right? Yes, but there are other names that we call horses depending on their age and if they are a male or a female.
Did you know all horses have the same birthday? Regardless of when they were actually born, all horses turn a year older on January 1st. Horses that have passed their first January 1st birthday are called yearlings.
Really? Even if it was born on December 31st?
Wow, see, interesting facts. I didn't know that either. That's a nice barn.
A weanling is a young horse that has stopped drinking its mother's milk and started eating hay and grass.
Adult female horses are called mares.
Baby horses are called foals. Fillies are female foals and colts are male foals. Adult male horses that are used for breeding are called stallions.
It was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Can we go into the cow sense pin?
On the horse?
No, I think it's over by the cow ones on the far side of the tabletop.
Cow sense, is that one? Is that this one you asked?
That's one of my favorite ones. Do you have things that you're naturally good at? Horses do too. A horse with cow sense means that the horse naturally works well with cattle, like following them without having to be taught. Cow sense is a learned behavior and an inheritable trait that ranchers and farmers can breed specifically for. Here, Moose runs after the steer when it gets out of the chute without the rider having to give too much signal for Moose to do so. He has been taught to put the rider next to the steer's left hip, an ideal position for the rider to rope the steer. When a horse like Moose gets to do a job that he enjoys, it can help to strengthen the relationship between a horse and his rider.
And you can do that, right?
Did you? Yes.
I haven't team roped in a long time, but I used to rope with Dave. So it's cool to be able to go back and use him as a resource on this one. I believe that the Horses at Work pin also has some drone footage in it. Is that correct?
There's that one.
It's out there behind the cow sense one.
Horses are used in a variety of ways, and different types of work calls for different types of equipment. Meet Moose. Moose is a roping horse and is outfitted with a Western saddle. The saddle features a horn, the piece that sticks out near Moose's shoulders. Ranchers can dally or wrap their rope around the horn to keep it tight and ready for roping cattle, or keep it loose and secure when not in use. Moose's bridle features split reins, meaning that there are two pieces of leather, one attached to each side of Moose's bit. This helps the rancher give directions to Moose when they are roping cattle together. One piece of leather is draped over Moose's neck, and you can see here the other piece is held by the rancher. Now let's meet Snickers. Snickers is a pony, a smaller type of horse. Snickers is trained to pull a cart. He is outfitted with a full body harness to help him pull. It may look like he's wearing cool shades around his eyes. Those are called blinkers. Blinkers help horses focus away from distractions, like dogs, people, and other horses from startling him while he drives. Blinkers are used to help keep horses and drivers safe. Long reins are used to help the driver communicate directions to carting horses because there is a longer space between them.
Okay, so Alad, not the drone footage in that one. I'm not sure where it is, but it's in there somewhere. So that'll be a good Easter egg to hunt and find for. I believe the peak performance one is the one that puts you in the saddles of the horses, or at least I hope so. Everything takes practice, and competing in athletic competitions and shows is no different. Daily practice sessions like this will help keep riders and horses in shape and ready for competition. This is also the perfect time to learn new steps, build trust, and strengthen their connection. In order to assess what a horse may excel at, skilled trainers like Travis start working with horses when they are young. Ernie is an award-winning reining horse. Practicing with Ernie daily builds up muscles, reinforces his training, and keeps him in tip-top shape. Wendy, do you have any favorite pins?
I was just thinking what I'd love to see the shoe ones if the shoe fits.
If the shoe fits.
Horseshoes need to match the horse's athletic ability and performance event. A horse that races will have different shoes compared to a horse that goes on trail rides. Much like with people, soccer players wear cleats compared to a ballerina's point shoes and a hockey player's ice skates. One important aspect of horse care is trimming their hooves. Horse hooves continuously grow and need to be trimmed similar to your fingernails. Farriers are people with an extensive knowledge about how to take care of a horse's hooves. Farriers travel to barns and trim horse hooves and reset their shoes about every 6 weeks.
Does that hurt the horse at all?
No, it's just like when you go to the nail salon.
No.
A little
So-
less glamorous, but
Yeah.
They aren't all very patient about it though.
The horses. Yeah.
No, it's a lot of work for the farrier. There's a lot of horses that'll tend to lean. Some of them will kick at the farrier. So.
Ooh, wow.
yeah, it was really awesome that we caught this guy, Casey Little, at the barn. He actually shoes performance horses for a living. He was originally out of Kentucky, and he was flying up every 6 weeks to reshoe reining horses in the county. And eventually they said, well, why don't you just move up here? And so they stole him from Kentucky, and he now lives in the county and makes his living shoeing performance horses and multi-million-dollar reining horses, which is a pretty cool gig.
Gosh, I'm trying to remember which one has the driving. Is that lessons and I think it's lessons and leases. Yeah, it's kind of attached to the driving horse there. Yes.
You
Yay.
don't have to own a horse to learn how to ride. Many barns and stables have lessons available to those new to horses or do not have a horse of their own. Lessons usually teach basic horse care and how to ride for different disciplines. Here, a student is having a lesson on how to drive a cart. As you can see, lessons are hands-on and fun. After taking lessons and understanding how to care for a horse, many barns often lease or rent their horses. With a lease, you can feed, take care of, and ride a horse on certain days of the week.
I'm telling her how fun this is. Right, Rain? There you go.
because that was a lot of fun to shoot. Kathy is the owner of Snickers the pony. She drives him regularly, and then that was it was one of our teens' teachers. She came out, so that was the first time she'd ever driven a horse.
Wow.
And when you think about it, even just 100 years ago, like everyone knew how to drive a horse. They were still widely in use until the 1930s when the tractor started to take over in the farms. And now, yeah, I bet that girl's the only one at her school who's ever driven a horse.
Can we go into horses in sport?
I think that's our ride along.
I'm hoping so. I can't wait to see this one with VR goggles on.
Oh, yeah.
From the Olympic Games to your local county fair, you can experience the hard work of riders and their horses. All level of riders can showcase their abilities in the horse sport and show industry. Carissa, a 4-H member, and her horse Cowboy are practicing dressage. In dressage, horse and rider perform specific movements in a sequence called a test. Dressage is sometimes called ballet on horseback because of the horse's intricate movements. Some people are full-time horse sport professionals. They earn a living from their show winnings. Travis is a professional reiner. Reining is a riding style where horse and rider work together to perform fast and detailed maneuvers. These movements are similar to what ranch horses do. Travis and Ernie are practicing spinning in a circle and coming to a sliding stop.
Yeah, this may get
really
you sick.
fast.
Yeah. So you may get sick in the headset.
I admit there's some people who will use like a GoPro camera and post their videos on YouTube of riding their horses, and yeah, those make me a little nauseous even.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we only put in short clips.
Wendy, where should we go next?
Where should we go next? I want to see Lifetime Activity. It's kind of the middle of the screen there in the back.
Lifetime Activity for 100, please.
People get physical and mental health benefits from spending time with horses. Almost half of all horses in the United States are used for some sort of fun or recreation. Some people take their horses and compete in competitions like barrel racing. Breakaway roping is another event you can see at rodeos. Vaulting requires a lot of practice to be able to balance and perform on top of a moving horse. It is a fun sport, especially with a great horse and teacher. Shooting an arrow with precision while directing a moving horse requires a lot of skill. Archery from horseback is exciting and fun for both the horse and rider. Imagine experiencing nature on horseback. Trail rides through the wilderness are peaceful and a great way to spend time with friends. Look at those views. Regardless of how time is spent with a horse, it's great for a person's physical and emotional well-being.
Can we check horsepower?
Yeah.
Go for it.
People and horses have worked together for
There's
over
my drone
4,000
footage.
years. Horses are dedicated workers and enjoy working for their people. In modern ranch work, horses are used to gather cattle and travel long distances over rough terrain. Here, the rancher is rounding up roping steers to bring them into the arena. The dogs, horse, and rancher all work in tandem to complete the job. Horses are able to comfortably carry 20% of their body weight. This means moose here can comfortably carry about 230 pounds all day. Horses can also help people on farms by pulling 1.5 times their weight. Large horses like these can pull about 2,500 pounds behind them. From plowing fields to pulling wagons of hay and supplies, horses are an important partner in agriculture.
All right, where to next, Maureen?
Let's see. How about four-legged friends? In the bottom, yeah.
So what's your horse's name?
This is Cowboy.
How long have you had him?
I've had him for almost 2 years.
What is he like?
He's a really good friend to have, and he's very fun to be around.
So what is an everyday life with him? What do you do every day with him?
Well, I wake up at 5:30 before school and ride him, and then I go to school and I ride other horses, or I just ride him for an hour and 15 minutes a day. And I do a lot of chores to keep up with him. Like I muck stalls and I feed and water.
What's your favorite thing about him?
My favorite thing about him is how he tries to do whatever I ask him. No matter what I ask him, he always tries.
Love about horses?
I love that they are like your best friends and they don't ever really try to leave you. Well, I do a lot of ground stuff with my horse, like I pet him and I do different things like feeding and graining him, which is giving him food with my hand. And I really try not to break his trust by scaring him or otherwise hurting him accidentally. And he tries to do the same for me.
Awesome.
Nice. Trying to think what we haven't seen yet. Barn Life, maybe?
Pete, you're so good at navigating these apps. I'm very impressed.
Oh yeah, this was our walk through the barn.
Barns have different layouts on each ranch, stable, or farm. Regardless of how it is set up, each barn needs to have space to exercise horses daily. This could be big pens attached to their stalls, or an arena where horses can stretch their legs and run around. One benefit of feeding horses in stalls is being able to see and interact with them on a regular basis. These daily health checks are important to intervene quickly if a horse is injured. As you can imagine, with a lot of horses comes a lot of poop. Manure from horse stalls can be collected and recycled into compost or fertilizer.
Yeah, this was our filming site in Oregon City. The owner's actually a 4-H leader in my county and has some borders. That's where we filmed the driving.
So I got a trivia question for Wendy and Deidre. Have you guys watched the show Yellowstone?
I've watched a few episodes.
They have a lot of different horse, especially as this goes on, a lot of little horse education. I was just wondering if it's pretty authentic and pretty accurate.
The little bit I've seen was reasonably accurate.
Yeah, Taylor Sheridan, who's the producer of the show and is the reigning character in the show, actually does train and raise professional reining
That's
horses.
what I wondered. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it showed him a lot.
Yep. And so those are actually like all him riding. And everyone on the cast learned how to ride before they could play their characters, which is really interesting because a lot of like shows use like those stunt riders and things. And Taylor Sheridan also just acquired the 4 Sixes Ranch.
Oh.
So in the end of the 4th season, the 4 Sixes is featured, and he just bought that property. So I'd say it's as close to authentic as I think you're going to get on TV.
Yeah, I was pretty, they showed everything from teach them how to saddle a horse to what it means to, ride professionally, stuff like that. Yeah. A lot of horse culture, I should say, is in there.
Well, or at least that aspect of horse culture. One thing that's really interesting about the horse world is really how varied it is. And, you know, racing has its own culture. The different types of showing have their own culture. People who pleasure ride. So just because one sport maybe isn't a fit for someone, or one type of horse work, there's lots of other things you can do too. So I think that maybe that pin on blankets and tack, I think it shows up as one of the, what do I want to say, top ones. I think linked to the two saddles. When I think might talk a little bit about, I'm not sure. This week. Yeah. I don't think we did that one yet.
Nope.
Having horses requires a lot of equipment. Horse equipment is called tack and is often kept in a room on the ranch, farm, or stable. Even though each tack room may look different, it is a place to keep all horse equipment safe and organized. You may recognize one of the most important pieces of tack, a saddle. Saddles are shaped differently for different riding disciplines like English and Western. Saddles are used on a horse's back to carry things, and a saddle pad is placed between the horse and saddle for cushion. Saddles usually carry a person and are fitted to the horse and rider to make sure both are safe and comfortable. Pack saddles have a frame and box on each side and are exclusively used to carry items. Bridles are used on a horse's head, and it includes the bit, headstall, and reins. Together, the reins and bit connect the rider to the horse and allow the rider to gently signal the horse how to move. Horses that pull carts and wagons use harnesses that allow them to use their whole body to pull. Harnesses have longer reins because there is a greater distance between the horse and rider. Besides riding tack, there is tack to keep horses healthy and happy, like brushes and blankets. There is also tack for the riders. Helmets are an important piece of equipment to keep riders safe.
Yes, to get a feel for some of the variety of different stuff that horses and horse owners have.
And then this is the last pin.
Okay.
Perfect.
Horses can move through multiple jobs in their lifetime. In the beginning of their life, their job is to bond with their mother and learn how to be a horse. After they are weaned and no longer drinking milk, their job shifts to learning how to live on their own. Yearlings begin their training, building their bond with humans. Horses reach peak athletic ability between roughly 4 to 12 years old. At this point, horses can have a variety of jobs that require them to be in great shape. Horses need to have a sudden burst of speed for roping or endurance to compete in 3-day-long jumping events. In this picture of Ernie, the reining horse, you can see how his body reacts to a workout. Notice his veins pumping all of his blood around? That's amazing. After they get older, horses can take a slower life. This horse here has transitioned into a lesson horse for kids. This horse is going to have a baby foal soon and gets to raise another generation of horses. Finally, horses spend retirement eating, getting loved on, and enjoying lazy days in the pasture.
It's kind of like humans.
Well, I think ideally it sort of is, right? You have time to grow up and learn things. You work hard for a while, and then hopefully you get to do maybe just some fun work and chill out for the rest of your life.
Once again, thank you guys for being here and being educators and being dedicated to sharing about agriculture with students. We know there's a huge disconnect between producers and consumers in every sense. And so being able to connect students and your students specifically with agriculture and arm them with purchasing power, arm them with knowledge is so important. And I seriously can't thank you guys enough for being educators in this program and taking advantage of the incredible resources that are coming out as products of it.
Right.